This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. Busy at the magistrates' court on Monday afternoon as several men were brought up on charges in connection with recent homicides that took place in the country. Leading the list of accused was 18-year-old Darren Smith. Smith appeared before Senior Magistrate Carolyn Vogt Evans and was charged with the murder of 57-year-old German tourist Torsten Hendricks and the attempted murder of Wolfgang Hendricks. According to police, 3 German nationals were outside their summer residence in Johnson Bay, South Andros last Wednesday, shortly after 8 p.m., when they were approached by a masked male who shot at them when they attempted to run inside their residence. Smith was not required to enter a plea. He was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until he returns to court on March 28, 2023 for a service of a voluntary bill of indictment. Also being charged with murder, 48-year-old Lyndon Vincent. Vincent, who stood before Magistrate Darren's Roll Davis, is accused of the early morning shooting death of 42-year-old Patrice Sawyer on Monday, October 31st, after she was lured outside by a phone call. The 48-year-old was not required to enter a plea and was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until he returns to court February 1st, 2023 for service of a voluntary bill of indictment. Also, 3 young men were arraigned before Magistrate Samuel McKinney charged with the murder of Fred Lafayette. On October 29th, Lafayette was shot to death on 6th Street and Poinciana Avenue in the Grove. 24-year-old Ahmad Clark, 22-year-old Omar Atkinson, and 21-year-old Ashton Wilson were all not required to enter a plea. They were all remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until February 9th, 2023, when they will return for a reading of a voluntary bill of indictment. As Thanksgiving and Christmas approaches, the month of November is considered the beginning of the holiday shopping season, but with streets here on New Providence getting busier, police say robberies are becoming more frequent. However, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, they continue to try and tackle this growing trend by conducting foot patrols in shopping areas throughout the capital. Superintendent of Police and Deputy Commander of the Southeastern Division, Dwight Smith, is giving residents safety tips as they start their Thanksgiving and Christmas shopping. He notes that shopping with big bags and a lot of jewelry is not a good idea.
Well, that's one of the major problems. The big bags, if you're shopping with your big bags and you have that, we'd encourage you not to put it in the back seat of the car or in the front of the car, put it in the back trunk. Made that nobody would have to see the access. And if you need not to have a big bag, then carry a big bag. Don't move about with too much things in your hand. If you're wearing your jewelry, make sure you limit the jewelry. We know that we want to be flashing this and flashing that, but you would probably want to limit that. And if you're going to shop, we still are around the COVID time, but we'll still tell you try to go with somebody else with you. So it would be more than one person that's actually moving about. Once you exit your vehicle, to see who is there, who's standing around, who may look a little shady. You may not want to then get out of that place. And it's as best as possible that you park actually closer to the establishment itself if you're moving about. And we say to the residents too, if you know you're coming from the shop, you know that you're coming from the bank, you want to be careful. Just keep a look in your side mirrors. You ensure that nobody's following you.
Now, as for when residents get home from shopping, Superintendent Smith urges the public to be aware of your surroundings.
When you get at your residence, don't just try to be fiddling around with the keys and all of that. Get out of your vehicle to get into your homes. Make sure that it's safe. If you feel that you need to take time with that, then you leave your items in the car, go into your home, make sure that other persons are there, cut on all the lights and all of that, and then you can probably come back and get your items.
And finally, when private pharmacies closed their doors to the public last Tuesday on the advice of the Bahamas Pharmaceutical Association, the BPA, many members of the public vented their frustration and disappointment with the pharmacy owners, with some characterizing them as being greedy. While speaking to reporters following the BPA's meeting with the government, Association President Shantia McBride wanted to ensure the general public, especially their customers, that greed had nothing to do with their decision to close. She gave the following explanation.
The decision we made to close on Tuesday was not in reference to greed. It was definitely in the wake of the enforcement of the price control amendment. And in that would mean that if a pharmacy would be inspected, if it was possible that we may be inspected, we would or may have been fined for being now not in compliant at the time of the enforcement, November 1st. So it was best, or it was advised by the association, that the pharmacies close to avoid that type of penalization or that type of fine based on not being in line with the amendment.
Late last week, the government and the Bahamas pharmaceutical sector resolved their differences and reached an agreement on a new price control regulations amendment in what can be described as a win-win situation, according to Economic Affairs Minister Senator Michael Halkitis. The BPA and the government also agreed to a long-term educational process. Ms. McBride explains the significance of this educational program.
So that communication effort is to ensure that pharmacy public announcement and health tips go out to the nation. Okay, it's vital that patients know about their medications, indications, what it's for, and how best to take their medications to remain compliant. And at this time, we find that that information doesn't go out readily. We may try to do a one-on-one consultation, but now with the government's help, we could do it throughout the Bahamas, So we have the resources through the government now to get our message that I may give you one-on-one to the nation for better help with compliance on medication.
Asked if there were any messages that she and the other members of the BPA would want to extend to the public, Ms. McBride said the following.
I just want the public to know that we did all of this for them, because at the end of the day, we want to remain open for them. If we did not close and possibly fine. The initial fine for the first line is $5,000. A small pharmacy may not be able to sustain a $5,000 fine at this time to remain open. So it's not just about wanting to be against the government, but wanting to ensure that medium, small, large pharmacies could stay open.
And that'll do it for your JCN Evening News. Once again, I'm Jareno Saunders. Thanks for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.